All right, coming Earth. We're getting there. We're getting there. All right, doing the autofocus thing today. All right. Anyway, it looks a little cloudy. It'll clear up. I think it will. We got a little. I guess we got a little fog here in Tennessee. Saturday, live. That's right, Saturday day live, not night like live like they do in New York. My name's Chris Anthony. Welcome to Nash Talk, and it's a Saturday afternoon here, but I'm going to be talking to somebody across the pond. Where it's actually 7 p.m. nighttime there, and the really cool thing is that with Nash Talk, I think a lot of people might perceive it as just interviews on Nash Talk with Nashvillians or people down here. And I did start off with that. And I do showcase a lot of different things in and around Nashville. But if you know anything about the music industry, it bleeds into Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Chicago, Detroit, and of course, across the planet. And that's what makes this really exciting, especially with the advent of the internet, the World Wide Web. People are, working together, collaborating, connecting, networking, you name it. And what I like to do is, reach out to certain people. I've made friends on social media, primarily Facebook. I know that the younger generation uses Instagram, and we do actually do stuff with, Instagram and TikTok and all the other ones. But we're going to be showing this live right now, not only on Facebook publicly, but also it's being streamed and recorded live on YouTube and among other places. So you'll be able to see and share this later if you'd like to. And in the meantime, I want to bring on my first guest. He's become a friend on not just Facebook, but through a mutual organization for songwriters and artists alike in the United Kingdom. And I think that's kind of how we met. And he'll correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't have a problem with that. But I'd like to bring him on right now, Mr. Ross Bell. So here he is.
Hi,
there he is.
Yeah, you're absolutely totally right. We met through the TSA, the Songwriting Academy, on the boot camp, one of their boot camp programs. I think we were on their very last boot camp, in fact.
Well, it's funny. Let me zoom in on this. There we go. So, I think that, having that said, let's just go there for a moment. The TSA, it's called the Songwriting Academy, based in the United Kingdom, but it featured not only the main individual that started and created, who was a songwriter in his own right, who's been accomplished. He's been featured in a lot of genres with a lot of hits, but his colleagues, male, female, young, and old, throughout the entire planet, including, of course, the United States, with a lot of monster hits, billions of dollars worth of sales, records that charted. And it was his brainchild that basically put that together and invited people like myself to join it. And it turned into from free to a few dollars to then it became a membership. But you know what? For what it's worth, it did engage a lot of people. It put us on the spot to collaborate. It gave us their histories, past and present. I hate to overuse that term, with their experiences and how things have changed and what to look for and what to do and not to do, blah, blah, blah. And it also, at the same time, created friendships.
Completely. I don't think I'd be sitting here right now if it wasn't for the TSA. It gave me a place where to really focus in on my skills and what I was going to do next with my music. I went into the TSA thinking I was just going to be a writer for other artists, and then came out of it after a lot of advice and some pushing and some real genuine faith given to me by some of the amazing mentors on there to push forward. When they were saying to me, "Ross, why are you keeping yourself in the background? Go forward, make your own music." Present your own vision for what you want to do, and see what happens. And that really was the instigation for me to go forward, push forward, make my own album, and release my own music. Totally. So I'm very appreciative of what they've done for me, and just that space being there, and for all the collaborations that have happened on the line as well with it. So.
Now, where exactly are you located? Just
so it's a small town village called Ramsgate on the coast of England. Furthest sort of southeast point of England, of Great Britain. So I'm almost in France. You can see France on a clear day. So
it's the Eiffel Tower.
It's that. Do I have sorry?
I said you could see the Eiffel Tower.
Not quite, but definitely the coast of France, Calais. Yeah.
I think we always think of those monuments that we identify certain landscapes across the country. So well, I know that you're not just an artist, a songwriter, singer, and all that. We're gonna go into your beginnings and work your way, because you've got quite a story to tell, background. I know you've been in the military. I know you've served time doing that, but you also served time doing something else.
Yeah.
And which led you into this group.
It has, yeah. It's my path to being an artist. It possibly isn't, a regular one. I'm not sure I would recommend my way into becoming an artist to anyone, but it's just the path that I took, or the universe laid out for me, I should say. So after being a younger man, after leaving university, I then sort of had that. I had a load of fun at university. It was an amazing place in Cardiff in Wales. I basically spent 3 years playing rugby and having a really fantastic time, and making some incredible friendships that still last very, very strongly to this day. But when I got to the end of it, I didn't really know what to do next. I was working in a gym, and the commanding officer of the officer training corps from university came in, started training in there. We started talking. I trained him. We became friendly, and he asked me what I was going to do next after university. I said I didn't know, and he seemed to get it in his mind that I was the right stuff. I had the right stuff to go to what's called the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. So that's our your equivalent is West Point. So to go to the RMS Sandhurst to study there, and to once I left there, then to gain what's called at the time, it'd be different now, but at the time it was the Queen's Commission. So gain the Queen's Commission to become an officer in Her Majesty's Forces. Now, obviously, His Majesty's Forces.
His Majesty's Forces. Really? Oh, that's interesting.
I know it's weird to think of it now, because if I was still in, I would be holding His Majesty's Commission rather than Her Majesty's Commission. But yeah.
And that just recently changed after 90 years, I think, something like that.
Yes, damn long time. Yeah, it's 1952. Yes, so yeah, incredibly long period. So did that. So left there left Royal Military Academy Sandhurst in '97, and I was commissioned into the King's Regiment. So the King's Regiment was the city regiment of both Liverpool and Manchester. I'm not from there. It's just where I got placed, where I got selected to go to, and had service with them. First place was Cyprus. Did so from Cyprus. Then we went to different locations in the Middle East. Then I did a couple of tours of Northern Ireland, because I still went to Northern Ireland at the back end of the conflict, just around about the time that the Good Friday Agreement was being signed, and that those peace accords were being settled. So that was a good time to go there. There was still a lot of civil unrest, especially with the Protestant community, who some of them weren't entirely accepting of certain factors of the Good Friday Agreement. So there was a lot of unrest, especially when it came to a small town called Drumcree, which was a focal point where a lot of the marches in what's called marching season there were stopped. It was there. There was Belize, so we did a tour in the jungle, which was challenging. But the last thing I did that really that I struggled with after leaving service was 2003 in Iraq. In specifically, we were in the southern city of Basra, where perhaps the American forces, you might remember, were north in Baghdad. The British forces, British-led forces, were sort of centered around the southern city of Basra. And so that's where myself and my regiment were. At that point. So that was a really challenging time. There was some incredibly intense and difficult things happen there.
How old were you at that time?
In 2003, I was 32.
Oh, 32 years old.
Yeah, I was 32 years old. So I wasn't a kid by any stretch of the imagination. But that stage of my life, was married, 2 young children, son and a daughter, Luke and Daisy. I was a bit longer in the tooth, a bit older in rank. I was a captain by then, but still, whatever time you go into a situation like that, it's difficult. It's difficult. It's challenging. These are kind of words that a lot of soldiers perhaps would use to hide the fact that it was. I mean, operational tours and situations of wars like that is often described as extremely long periods of boredom, punctuated by sheer terror. You go through that. There's a low-level buzz the whole time where you realise there's danger still all about, whether from regular fighting forces or there was what was called there was a militia called the Fedayeen, who were sort of the last remnants of Saddam's loyalists from the Ba'ath Party. Plus, there was elements of the Al Qaeda was beginning then in Iraq, and what would then come on to become Islamic State, led by, and there was sort of a lot of friction with a religious character called Muqtada al-Sadr, who also had his own militia forces as well. So there was a lot going on in the general war fighting or counter insurgency operations, plus just general peacekeeping and trying to support the civilian population that were there, which were struggling for power, water, food, all those kind of things that happen just after you've had a war. The state is completely and utterly disintegrated, and there's a lot of people to try and sort out and stabilize the situation. That's pretty much all you can do in a situation like that. When you're occupying a place, and quite frankly, for many cultural and historical reasons, you hate it.
Yeah, no, I understand that part. I mean, I'm sure that runs through the minds of many, countless times in most, war situations. But I guess, you basically touched upon something, and I know that you kind of struggled with it. I think we call it, and I could be wrong, so forgive me, but it's like a lot of soldiers, they didn't discover this terminology until years later, but it was called like a PTSD here in the States.
Sure. We have that term. So what I was eventually diagnosed with when I left. So Iraq was in 2003. I left in 2005. In 2007, I was with a fantastic charity called Combat Stress, who are a brilliant mental health charity in the UK.
Right.
Deal with UK veterans. So PTSD absolutely is a I think it's a worldwide term, but definitely in Western culture, it's definitely a term. I was diagnosed with something called adjustment disorder. So it has elements of PTSD in it, but there's slight differences, and it kind of manifests itself with periods of depression, with fluctuations in emotion, from depression to rage to hyper awareness. You're incredibly aware of danger that you perceive all the time. So you're very aware of situations, of new situations, of people you don't know. There's certain elements of obsessive behaviours or obsessive compulsive disorders. But the main thing that kind of got me into trouble, what we're going to lead into, is my ability to assess risk was almost zero. So
That's pretty dangerous.
if I wasn't getting shot at, and I wasn't there wasn't an IED waiting for me around the corner, my kind of mental state was like, what's the problem? You know, how bad can this thing be? Unfortunately, that led me. When I left in 2005, I joined a company that was run by my older brother William Billy, who what he didn't know was it was a firm exporting mobile phones and computer chips. And what I didn't know was it was vitiated on a massive fraud, which I didn't find out till further on down the line. Well, don't get me wrong. When I did find out, I had a choice. You know, I could either choose to side with my family, or I could choose to side with society and the state. I chose my family. I'd probably make that same choice again, but there we are. Because so many of my friends and family had put, I mean, up to about £2 million into that company at the time to go and trade and do that business. But it was, like I say, unfortunately, it was totally fraudulent. It was something called a VAT. It was a fraud based on VAT, which is value added tax in Europe and the UK. You'd probably express it sales tax. It was a sales tax fraud. So it was to do with the VAT system in Europe, and how things were accrued, and then when you exported away from the European Union. So for us, that was normally Dubai in the Middle East. You would then take back. You would bring back a load of that VAT in a reclaim situation, and it was just like it was called a carousel fraud as well, because the goods just kept going round and round and round in the system, and the VAT was taken away from the government. So in total, I mean, our company reclaimed about £30 million from them. So
Wow.
Let's put it that way. We about $30 million we stole from the government, and they don't like that. It's their job to take money from you, not the other way around.
Right.
So,
I'm gonna look at it. That's right.
Yeah. So then there was then after that kind of folded, there was a few years when nothing happened. Just went back to sort of general Joe jobs. I wasn't particularly happy or well. Well, I was in the process of therapy, and then in 2010, got the knock at the door when they came through the door, the police and the customs officers.
How long after was that from the point that you quit the job? Was there, because you seem to imply
so that's 4 years. 4 years later.
4 years later.
4 years later, they gained a load of evidence.
So they didn't even see it.
No idea. So they came back in, came through the door, and that was 2010. So we were all taken away, arrested, and charged. But we didn't go on trial until 3 years later. So I was on bail for 3 years. All right.
Wow.
So
this was 7 years after.
Yeah. So you think it's all done in your past, but your past cliche. Your past catches up with you. So we were didn't go on trial till late 2013, and then in early 2014. Then so 6 months later, there were 6 of us on trial originally. That went down to 5 because my older brother Billy didn't go on trial, because just about before he went on trial, we found out he had a brain tumor. So he never went on trial. So in February 2014, I was convicted of an 8-year sentence. So I was given an 8-year sentence in 2014 for those crimes. I was guilty, so that's that. And there was 4 other guys that went down as well. Wrong, 3 other guys that went down. One that was hung jury, and then my brother never went to trial. He also never went to prison because, unfortunately, in the December 2014, when I was in there on my first Christmas in jail, he died.
Oh man, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so that was that.
That's gotta be super hard.
And that was challenging. Obviously at the time, uh, yeah, still is in lots of ways.
How old was he?
Billy was 46 when he died. Yeah, 46.
Young.
Yeah, yeah. He was, yeah, and he was a force of nature. He'd lived a hell of a life. You know, he'd done it exactly how he wanted to do it. I didn't really all the time I was in the army. I didn't realise he was actually building up a lot of criminal connections. He'd become connected with some pretty serious players in organised crime in this country. I'm kind of unbeknownst to the rest of us. So it all came to pass later on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I just want to stop you for 1 second, and you don't have to answer. Because I always ask at the beginning with everybody, there's something you don't want to talk about, feel free. And if I do mention something, push the button, say the safe word, whatever you got to do. But like, how can I ask how he passed, or is that private?
No, he had a brain tumor.
Oh, brain tumor. Okay.
Neuroblastoma. So, I mean, partly there is a beautiful story about that because, let's share that because it
okay, go ahead. Yeah.
It gives me a lot.
Let me just interrupt you and hold this thought, hold your emotions and grab it. Because I just want everybody to know, if you're just joining us, my name's Chris Anthony. I'm north of Nashville. This is Nash Talk, but I'm talking to my good friend here, Ross Bell, and he's over on the other side of the world. We're about 5-hour difference right now. He's ahead of us, and he's a singer-songwriter, and he's telling us the story that led up to that point. And right now we're at the point where he served in the military, and then he went to go work for a company that did some not so many legal things. Years later, he was a knock came on the door, and then 3 years after that, total of 7 so far, he was sentenced with other people. His brother, who was also part of it, did not go, but died shortly after of a brain tumor, and he's about to expand on that. And again, deepest sympathies to you, because I know that's got to be hard. It's something you never let go. I understand that. So keep going, and I'm just bringing people back up to speed.
Thank you, Chris. So why did Billy do a lot of things he did? So when we examined his behaviour and who he was and what he did, especially in older life, we all became to realise, myself and friends and some of our family, that Billy actually had a really serious personality disorder. People might be shocked that I'm about to call my brother this, but he was a sociopath. Not that he was an axe murderer, but there's you can go and look at this. There's like a checklist you can tell with personalities to find if somebody is a sociopath, psychopath, whichever word term you want to use. And it's that they are incredibly intelligent, driven, charming. What they can't get by charm, they'll get by force. Most CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, or generals, or politicians, or many of them have psychopathic traits because of their focus, their lack of empathy, for instance, for other people, that allows them to lead often. We often ask, why are we led by these people who seem to care so little for us? It's probably because they're psychos.
That there is actual truth in that, and I've known a lot of military people my entire life.
So the beautiful point I'm trying to get to is that I was allowed to, so I knew my brother was going to die when I was in prison. Luckily for me, there was a really great padre in there who got me a compassionate visit home to see him before he died. And what was particularly wonderful, even though I was in his bedroom with him in his home, and I was chained to 2 prison guards, I was still able to have a conversation with him. And what was wonderful was that the brain tumor had bypassed his psychopathic personality. And I actually got to meet the brother I always should have known, who was this wonderful, warm, caring, joyful individual. I'd never seen my brother experience joy before that. So what was entirely amazing was that the brain tumor had bypassed.
I'm not expecting this part, but go ahead, keep going. Wait. So he had this psychopathic part, like like any heavy duty military person or whatever has, that doesn't really exhibit most of their life. That's not part of their persona or their traits to exhibit any kind of compassion or joy or things like that. And all of a sudden, because of his brain tumor that was terminal, you got it suppressed that part, but it allowed it went like it was like a total paradigm shift, so to speak.
Exactly, right? Totally. So I know and that was just the absolute beauty that I got to see my real brother before he died. I'd never met him before. It was amazing, and still leaves me with so much comfort to this day. I'm really thankful to Father Phil. You're out there, man. He got me home to see my brother before he died. So I didn't experience a lot of acts of compassion when I was in the prison system, but that was definitely one of them. So I'm very thankful and grateful for that.
Good. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you shared that. I'm sorry to have pried. Sometimes you dig. I wasn't trying to look for that nugget. I just because I don't try to bring any. The one thing about Nash Talk and what I was trying to do, aside from my life, was try to find true stories from people anywhere. And especially creatives that were musical and or had something to do with it. And you always find these stories that it motivated somebody, loss, just hardships and horrific stories from people you think that are just sweet and positive and just genuinely telling their lives are, rosy. And then you discover, wow, there's like a real trail here. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Now, okay, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt you if you were going to say something, but I guess I'm just trying to keep it, on the same. So you're in time. You're doing time in prison, right?
So we're there. We're in.
Was it maximum? Just a.
It was the first one I went to was a place called HMP Wandsworth. So we call our prisons. Once again, like getting back to here's the sort of dichotomy of my life. So at one time I held Her Majesty's Commission, okay, but then I served time at Her Majesty's pleasure. So all our prisons are called HMPs. So Her Majesty's Prison. So
wow, HMP. Here we call it.
Yes.
It's a whole different meaning. Never mind. Keep going.
I had so much to do with the Queen. Yeah. So I held her commission, but then I served at her pleasure. So time at her pleasure, as it was called. So I was in a place called Wandsworth, which is in central London. So it was the largest at the time. It was the largest jail in Western Europe on one of the smallest footprints. So really small footprint, Victorian built the Victorian era jail. Place of squalor, deprivation, violence, fear. But if anyone's sort of looking at it now, I might be listening, might be going, yeah, well, that's what prison's supposed to be. I would dispute that. I would put it to you that the prison's supposed to be a place of rehabilitation and positivity. That's what it should. That's what it should be, because obviously prison's made up of two things. It's two elements. It's made up of punishment, and it's made up of rehabilitation. So your punishment is your sentence. It's the removal of your liberty. It is your removal from your own life, your family, all that you've known. Where you're literally stripped down to nothing, and you're processed. You're given a set of sweats, and you're put in this cell, a real solitary, bare cell.
I didn't know that.
and you're just there. That's you. You've got nothing. You've got to.
You can't communicate with any of the prisoners, or not. You have no cellmates or anything like that.
Not first. No, I mean it's just at first you can't. Well, my situation was on my own.
Okay.
A bit later on, you sort of let onto the wing, but so that I was really lucky. The first night I was in there, and you go through that process, and you're feeling. You're not feeling good. You're in shock, basically. You're in the shock of capture. You get the sentence comes down from the judge. You get told, the jury, the form of the forelady, actually, the jury says you're guilty. That's it. And then you've got that shock. And then the judge gives you your sentence. You've got that shock. And then just taken away in a back of a van, secure van, and taken to the prison. You're processed. You got that shock. So first night in prison.
A lot of shocks. Oh my goodness.
Shock of capture. In the military, you call it the shock of capture. If you're captured by the enemy, the shock of capture. So luckily for me, on my very first night, I was able to have a talk with myself, and I was able to forgive myself. I was able to give myself forgiveness and say to myself, "Okay, Ross, you've really messed up big time. Now you've ruined your own life. You've ruined your family's life. You now have to make this good. I will forgive you if you make this good, and if you go on from this moment forth and improve the person you are, because the person I was when I went in was, I must have weighed about 18 stone. I was pretty bad drink and drugs problem. I was morally, emotionally, spiritually, physically corrupt. Absolutely at my worst point. But luckily at that point, I was able to forgive myself. And then from that forgiveness, and from begin to work on myself, because luckily for me, I had loads of skills. I mean, skills from being an army officer, and I just great education, degree. I knew how to meditate. I knew how to train myself. So all those things I could use when I was in there.
Were you married at this point? I think you mentioned that you were married with kids. But at this point. So how old were you at this point? And your kids were probably
at this point in 2014. I was 43 years old. No, 42 years old. I was on my second and current marriage. My first marriage ended when I was when I left the army. I mean, when I left the army, there was all. I didn't get into. There was divorce. There was bankruptcy. There was some other ill health. There was just like, I can write country. I drink drugs. I can write country. Just like I've got
what happened in America. Sorry.
That's okay. We've got it. I've got it here. So at that point in prison.
I'm scratching your country off my list next time I get married. No, I'm kidding.
But luckily, also, not everything's a tragedy. Everything is far from a tragedy. At that point as well, I was married to the same amazing woman today, Victoria Catherine Bell. She's an incredible individual who, stood by me through all of those problems, all of my drink and drug problems, my mental health problems, the issue when the fallout from my divorce when we met, and becoming an amazing stepmother to two beautiful children, to then my criminal case, and then going through the whole of my prison journey with me. I mean, how staunch is that girl? I mean, how lucky am I?
There, brother.
How lucky am I? How grateful am I, as I am every single day for her. So there in prison, there was so luckily for me, there was a program started. So I went in the February 2014, and the April of 2014, there was this program called the Liberty Choir that started within Wandsworth Prison. And these were two incredible women called MJ Paranzino, originally from Philly. She's a Philly girl, and her partner, a journalist called Ginny Dugarry. And these two incredible women had been trying for 10 years to start a choir with prisoners. From there, they run 4 different community choirs in and around London, Hastings and Brighton. And they took members of these community choirs, went into the prison and formed a choir with the prisoners. So we had this incredible, amazing experience of singing in a choir with these wonderful, wonderful people who just came in, gave of their time, gave of their energy. They gave unconditional love to the scum of society, so the worst people.
Never heard that sentence before.
Perceived
to the scum of society.
They came in and did that free of their own time, and they did it in the most wonderful and giving way. So for 2 hours a week, me and a bunch of other guys, fellow travellers, we had this joy of singing, which I hadn't done since I was a kid. I hadn't sung since I was a kid, really. I just did for 2 hours every week. We sang modern pop songs and soul and things like Vivaldi's Gloria and all these incredible songs. And you genuinely, the walls melted away. You were free. You were free for a couple of hours, and you were joyful. And that gift was incredible. Was incredible and amazing. And from there, I started writing. That's my muse found me. I started writing just at the time, just journaling and articles and a blog I'd used to send out to my brother, and he'd post it for me on the internet. But then in the evening, I got my most treasured possession, which was a digital radio. Finally got a digital radio to have myself, and I would listen to my favourite station, it still is, BBC Six Music, which has got a huge breadth of genres and styles and artists on it. But in the evening, they used to have a lot of evening sessions on there with singer-songwriters, with a DJ called Mark Riley, his evening session. And you would hear songwriters like, I don't know, Sufjan Stevens or Sharon Van Etten or John Grant or Johnny Cash, Chris Stapleton, people like that on it, on these shows. And I'd be hearing, and I'd be saying to myself, you'd say to yourself, these people are just telling stories, I've got stories. That's what you do.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I've got stories, and I just started writing from there. I'm just writing them by myself. Eventually, I got a guitar, and you sort of learn some cowboy chords, and you try and go along, and just started writing and find out how much I enjoyed it. And at another prison, there was there's a charity called Finding Rhythms, who would come in and they would record a whole album with prisoners from scratch, live over 6 weeks, 1 day a week for 6 weeks. They bring in loads of field recording equipment with an engineer and different session musicians, and they would get us together and just say, right, we're just going to write an album from scratch. Let's go. And you would then find out this joy of collaboration with other people. You go, oh wow, these things don't just have to live in my head. I can collaborate with other people. Oh, and that guy's got those skills, and he can engineer, and he can play the guitar better than me, and he can play the piano, and that guy can spit bars, and you'd all end up working together, going, wow, this whole collaboration thing, this is amazing. And this is how it happens. And obviously later when you work out, oh, that's how it really happens. You collaborate. There are very few geniuses in this world who can do it all by themselves. There's very few Stevie Wonders or Prince. Prince on his first album played 27 different instruments on the album and engineered it and produced it. Just insane. I think it was only his last couple of albums, the Third Eye Girl ones, that he allowed somebody else to produce him. That was right at the end. I mean, but with this, there are very few generational talents like Prince, and I certainly ain't one of them.
It looked easy, didn't they?
It was, sorry.
I said he made it look easy, didn't he?
Didn't he just?
Like, I can do this. I can do that. So when you, oh, go ahead. I wanted to ask you, like, so you're in this thing and you're listening, you're going through these really unique things, because I've never heard of these kind of, I'm friends with a very well-known sheriff in the United States who's doing things with Jelly Roll, and he's trying to rehabilitate. These are new programs that just came out like early this year.
He goes in a lot, doesn't he, Jelly Roll? He does. He goes in. Does constantly.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Johnny Cash thing, like Folsom Prison kind of thing, and because he had a life not similar to yours. I don't think he's any military, but he went to jail for for a lot of bad things. But I know that they're trying to rehabilitate, and I never really heard of musical programs. Not saying they don't exist, but the way you've described the Liberty Choir and then this new thing, which seems to be the evolution for how you got to where you are. But keep going with your story.
No, definitely. So for the first time in my life, in middle age, I've got to stop. I've been stopped. I've been put in a cell. All the noise that was around my life and all the chaos, it's all gone. There's no other noise going on. Okay, there's a bit of noise outside the rest of the wing and the prison, but really you just right. you got to think you've got that. I had that time to think, well, who the hell do I want to be? And then your muse finds you and you think, well, actually, I really like this. I want this, and then it progresses. Since I get out the joint. And it's great, all that, and I still get in the back of my mind, I really enjoy doing the music. But you go back to your life, you go back to go back to my wife, the kids, pick up, getting my life back, go back to my business again, start to build that up, and you're working away. But there was something that kept itching at me, really, really. It wouldn't let me go. It just wouldn't let me go. That I wasn't doing it. I wasn't making music. And I was putting all those excuses out of the way. I'm tired. I'm too busy at work. I'm too old. No, who the hell wants to listen to me? Come on, it's for the kids. All that's, you're delusional. You're not good enough. All that stuff. All that stuff you tell us stuff. All that stuff that it still sometimes just creeps in, and you have to whack it away. All that self-doubt. And crippling stuff that you have to keep pushing it away. And sometimes you really have to strangle that, because you never get anywhere otherwise. And then lucky for me, I just thought, okay, I'll ease myself back into it. I went and joined another choir on the outside, which was a soul choir, local to where I worked. And in that soul choir, the leader of that was another guy called Ross Power, and he's this incredible. We talked about Prince earlier. He's a multi-instrumentalist. He can engineer. He can produce. He composes for film and television, and he's a choir master. So he can do all this. He can coach you. He can do the lot. The guy's amazing. And then I joined his choir just before lockdown. Then lockdown happens. Him and his wife Abby run 14 different choirs. They were all total. 14 different choirs. So they were all completely totaled when COVID hit and everything was locked down. So they couldn't do their business. They were also session musicians, and he scored film and television. So all of their business was wiped out. So he put himself online to do whatever, singing lessons. I went and had singing lesson with him. Didn't really like that. So I just asked him if we want to start writing together. So we started writing. So it went from there. We're doing it over all lockdown, just over Zoom, and then that finished. Went into his studio. We started writing. Our initial thought was, okay, we're going to write for other people. Like you do. Then we kept writing, and we kept falling. And we fell in love with these songs. And just one day, we'd just look at each other and say, "We don't want to give these to other people. We want to do them." So we then go forward to get them all demoed up properly, and then go on the search for the right producer. And then luckily in January 2000, last year, in 23, I went to, there's Americana Music Association, started in Nashville. So that started in Nashville about 25 years ago. and it has now sister. It's because the style of the genre we end up writing in is Americana. It's because it's a bit of everything, and it's got sister organisations in the UK, Canada, and Australia. So I joined the Americana Music Association UK. I went to their conference in January last year, and luckily when I was there was a visitor from Nashville who was presenting a documentary on Oh Boy Records, John Prine's label. And this was a man called Nielsen Hubbard. Nielsen's also not only a documentary maker, he's a photographer, but he's an artist in his own right, and he's a producer. And he is the current producer for the last two albums for both Mary Gauthier and Lucinda Williams. So I mean, you know, Lucinda Williams, you know, so loved within country in Americana. They got their own artist project called the Orphan Brigade, and just loads of he does loads of other stuff. And luckily for me, he really liked the demos, and he came back over last summer from Nashville to make the record with us in
Nashville.
He came from Nashville back to England.
Wow.
Right. To make the record with us.
That's pretty cool.
In my hometown, in a fantastic studio. So I'd never been through that process. It was incredible. A whole week with these amazing musicians, because there was Ross and there was a couple of friends of his who was also session guys, Charlie Moreland on guitar and Eric Fagai, Canadian guy, on bass. Ross played everything with keys, and Nielsen, the producer, also drummed on the album, so I controlled it from there. It was all live tracked, so all 12 tracks were live tracked.
Wow.
In fact, the title track, Beautifully Wasted, was performed one take, one mic in the round, which was a hell of an experience. That blew my mind.
It must be a nice mic. Pick up all that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of great studio.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. So let me ask you a couple of like really quick speed round questions, and then you can, elaborate. Okay, did you have any ideas that, when you were incarcerated, when you were in prison, when you had, like, did you have any ideas? Did you like write any ideas for a song or anything, or did it not hit you until after you were out?
Oh no, I wrote loads and loads of songs in prison. Yeah.
Did you keep them, or were you allowed to keep, a manuscript or anything like that?
Definitely. I kept them all. And when I didn't have pen and paper, I got very good. Lyric and melody has always come together for me.
Sure. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. So some people it's different, but for me, it's lyric and melody always at the same time, or very often at the same time. So even you can't record anything down. So you just have to get really good at singing the song back to yourself again and again and again and again.
You kind of have an idea what that song's about and the kind of the rhythm and the tempo and the mood of the song. Because I write too, so I understand it. And again, we've shared. Even if I was right, because when I joined the TSA and I got cases and cases of papers and books, even from when I was a kid, high school and beyond. And it was funny because I thought, God, did I do it the right way? Because sometimes I'm on my phone, sometimes I'm dictating, sometimes I'm scribbling on paper, on napkin, whatever. And I realized I did it after watching the Beatles documentary. I did it right. And then TSA showed me more that I thought I was doing it wrong. That was one of the things of the self-doubt container that I thought, maybe I'm not doing it right. Maybe they do it all in one take. The words just floated. Paul McCartney and George, George Harrison and John Lennon, or maybe Elton John and Bernie, Prince even. And you realize that they've got thousands of songs that are not going to ever be completed because it's impossible. Because even if you complete the 1,000 songs, you're already going to throw in 4 or 5 ideas in between those songs, like a title. That's what I do.
I still drag out those notebooks again. There were still songs from back there that I know actually. I'm like, there are some I know I'm never going to make, but there are some that I know that there's some diamonds there that I know are going to get dragged onto the next album. I know I'm dragging those out and going, they're going to the next album. I know they're coming back. I know they do that.
Well,
They need a lot of work. That some of them need a lot of work.
Yeah. You come to Nashville, you'll find that out really quick. I go to these things and I think, God, but my whole idea was like, okay, whether I have time or not to finish these ideas or can, I go, I'm going to find 10,000, guitar players that are going to tell me they're the best in the world or have the best guitar, whatever, singers, writers, bass players, you name it. But the problem is that they get kind of hooked into these. You just got to tell everybody you have a record label, Toilet Paper Records, and they'll gravitate to you if you have that card in your hand versus somebody goes, I write songs too. It just doesn't work like that, So maybe you've got some better, synergy with this Ross. Is Ross the one on the picture that you sent me, the black and white?
Yes. Yeah,
okay, I've just got now really quick because I know I'm gonna forget about 2 or 3 things, even if I wrote them down. Because I talked to somebody the other night for over 3 hours, and we didn't take a break the whole time, and I know he wants to do a part 2 now. So it's like some people get like 5 or 10 minutes on TV, or something, and then I don't know how they squeeze in like all the information. This is who it is. This is what they are. But one of the things that I wanted to do, not and that's why I've done it with people, not just outside of Nashville that have never been to Nashville, like in different parts of the country, but also because it's hard to get people to do this. I had a guy that was in TV and radio tell me the other night. We had a really long conversation, and he goes, you should start this at a particular time, like they do the nightly news. And I said, well, nobody watches the nightly news anymore, except old people, because the kids are watching whenever they want to watch listen whenever they don't have, Spotify or whatever. I said, it's a whole different world that we're trying to communicate with, and we're trying to convince ourselves that world still exists. And it's actually, it's a dinosaur. But the reason I say that is because, like I couldn't have you come on at 8 o'clock at night because it's like, 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, your time, and I don't want to talk to you while you're sleeping on me, so, and I said, this is going to loop no matter what. Even if one person's watching right now, we're on the biggest platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and you can share it, link it, whatever. And when somebody's done with this, they've told a story that no 2 stories for songwriters is the same. They all look the same when they're down there. The hats, the guitar, they got a little twang to their voice. But the thing is, their stories are all unique and different, no matter what city, state, or country they are from. Just like yours. I mean, what you're telling me, even from going from the military and then going into a job that you eventually came in prison for. You lost your brother at the beginning, and then what I'm going to remember the most is that you had that moment where this brother of yours, who you obviously love and admire, did not ever possess the capabilities of showing, the normal emotions, the range of compassion. And here, because of what he was going through with the brain tumor, he was able to share with you why you were in the worst part of your life. These moments that you'll never forget. And I figure there's got to be some inspiration, not just to create music and be a better person, but probably some songs out of that as well that somebody can relate to, and I think a song is a legacy. And that's part of the reason I do this. And when I saw you and me together on the TSA, and of course, we're friends on social media, I feel a person as far as because I'm an outgoing person and I've been through my own things, and my personality, I had my own. I don't want to compare it to your brother, but I feel like I've been through things where I'm showing emotions and saying things on social media that no grown man over 20 should ever share, especially like I do. But what I also inadvertently did was try to create something that people like you and others that probably have some great songs out there, because I'm convinced, number one, that most people, well, it's a 2-part. This is the part nobody will like, but most songs will never be heard, no matter how good they're sung, written, produced, recorded, doesn't matter, and they'll just be on a big pile here. But I'm also convinced at the same time, there's probably so many songs being written that are probably better than any of the number ones that have ever been written, by anybody. It could be the Beatles, it could be, anybody you could pick. And I'm thinking, what? So if I can just grab a couple people in the world that I have a connection with, like yourself, and say, look, he's got a story and he's got songs, and you might like one of his songs. And years from now, the legacy of this interview will be that you got to share the story, and hopefully you pick up some more people and you can share this, because that's what this is about for me. I didn't mean to go to step on a soapbox for a minute, because I really do.
No, I'm with you. I'm totally.
But I want people.
I agree with you were saying. That's funny things when people don't say, "Oh, there's no good songs anymore, not like in the old days." I'm like, are you insane? So there is so much music being created at the moment. There are so many people really who are trying to connect with their creativity. Yeah, of course, there's great music. I hate great music. I hate new great music all the time. Just because you just want to go back to what you know, well, fine. Don't say there isn't anything out there, because there is. There are so many great artists, even if it's not my genre, even if I don't, particularly like it, even if it's not particularly for me. You can't say there isn't great things being created all the time, and that's what I want for people. I came to my creativity very, very late in life. But one thing I absolutely, talking about soapboxes, one thing I absolutely am going to hammer home to people through my own channels and through my own sharing on social media is, this isn't just for me. This is for all of you as well. If you think there's something missing in your life, you think, well, there's something missing. What is it? What's the hole that I'm trying to fill? And I used to try and fill it with drink and drugs, and bad relationships, and throwing myself out of airplanes, and military adventures, and criminality. All these things you're trying to stop the gap. You're trying to plug the hole, the gaping chasm that's within yourself.
Chasm, I love that word.
It's the fact that you're not creating, is my belief. It's the fact that you are not, and that could be anything. I'm not going to tell anybody what they can do, or B, how they can do it, because I'm not a guru. I'm not going to tell you what you can do and how you can do it. But for the individuals to find out, and they will do. If they really want to find out, they'll find out. They'll come onto it. But I know it's out there for them, whatever it is. I mean, someone like Brian Eno, for instance, he describes the creative act as being anything that isn't a practical act. So even just by styling your hair, by painting your nails, you don't have to do that. That is creation. Even if something as small as that. Even if you shape a piece of toast, that is creation, because you don't have to do that.
No, you don't. And you share it. Yeah, you share even if you're the least talented creative person in the world, you may dress better than everybody and show up in a nice, or you may be able to tell a joke better than anybody, because one thing about musicians, they're not the easiest to interview. People thought I thought I was have like 1,000 people doing this, and and they're crazy without the circumstances, so even with or without tragedy or bad circumstances, you'll find that people are, they're not all, they're not meant for Yale or Harvard or Princeton. They're not meant for, not saying that they haven't, because I've met some pretty smart people too also, but it's an expression, it's a legacy. And at the very least, because it bothered me a lot, like, why would I want to put my music out there, like, on Spotify, I should say it faster. But anyway, I think that what I've started to deal with the last few weeks, and when you coming on, I thought to myself, I said, you know what? I said, most people that come down here could spend years and never, ever, ever be noticed, no matter how well they play. And they're going to play covers. I said, put a song out there, because a lot of people can't write a song or sing a song. And the world's population keeps getting bigger. Since 1989, 30 plus years ago, the world's population doubled.
Yeah.
And and here's even a better one, because when you listen to radio stations, you have to wait for the commercials, and you're at the mercy of the DJ. No matter how good the radio station or disc jockey is, you got to go, okay, I got to wait 4 more songs to hear my other song. And it's a lottery, because it's like, oh, it's on. And then it's almost like you got to wait for it. And and here you can listen to your song over and over with a push of a button. But it also, because I don't think any artist with any album out there, any of them, Dark Side of the Moon, if you want, most people don't know more than 1 or 2 songs out of that album, in the test of time. However, I'm sure that every one of those people that wrote the words or the melodies or anything, they didn't write those songs to disappear, vanish. They probably found those songs just as I think every song that's ever written on any album is just as significant. Not saying you're going to put a couple fluff tunes out there because you have to, but I truly believe that most people have written songs and thought, God, because there's been a lot of ridiculous songs that became hits that made that group for a song that was by accident. Ask the Chainsmokers. You know what I mean? They, ask them about Selfie. So, and they're just a DJ group that's very successful. But the thing is that the artistry and the idea and the humanism, I love to connect the story behind a songwriter like yourself, because you have this really unique history past, and somebody may not always like it or agree with it.
Sure.
But it's like you went through things that nobody else had to go through. Or there might be some people that have, and they're like, wow, if he can do it, I can do it with whatever I do.
I want that. I'd love for people to go, hang on, that guy's doing it. Do you know what? I can do it. I can express myself. I genuinely, I want that for people. I want that for people badly.
What's your favorite genre of music? What I'm sorry. What motivates? Because I want to talk about you for a minute, like to let the audience know that, so you can say this out loud, from the heart, like what inspired you? What's your favorite? Like, what's your genre of music? What's the message? What kind of creation do you really enjoy? What's like the number one thing? If you were to have a choice right now, what is it? What are the music types that you are looking to do, and how do you express yourself?
So I kind of picked a cop out of a genre to be in, which is Americana, which is kind of everything. It's you've got, because you've got everything. You have got everything. You've got country, you've got roots, you've got blues, you've got soul, you've got a bit of rock, you've got a bit of folk, bluegrass, and you can get everything. And we've kind of got a lot of those genres, on the album.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes even within songs, you're hearing influences from a couple of genres within them. And I'm not saying the genre is unimportant, but what I am saying is, for me, what I'm going for, what I'm setting in the when I start writing as a point in the future, a sort of lodestone that I want to get to is the emotion. So I'm setting the emotion before I'm doing anything else. I'm like, what is the emotion I'm trying to instill in the song, and then get that same emotional reaction from the listener. So I want that for myself. So I want to feel that. So I give that energy to the song. And I want the listeners to be able to connect with that emotion as well. So once you've got that set, then you can come with your concepts, your ideas, your structure, even what genre or type it's going to, or the BPM, or then come in with the lyrical ideas and the melodic ideas. Then it all kind of for me, it all kind of draws towards that emotional core that you go to, that lodestone you set in the future. It's out there in the matrix, and you're everything you're doing is working towards that. So I want people to get that. I want to get that emotional connection with that song, and I want everyone else to get that emotional connection with it. But in terms of genre, they're all. I mean, I'm not a future of death metal or hip hop.
You're not. Oh, we gotta go.
Or hip hop, probably, but just pretty much everything else.
Wow. Well, hey, real quick before I ask you a couple more musical questions, what does Roscoe P. stand for?
Okay. So we're of a certain age, Chris. So I'm sure you remember when you were a kid. The
20 years ago? No, I'm kidding.
The Dukes of Hazzard.
Decades ago.
So, do you remember the Dukes of Hazzard?
What's that?
The TV show, The Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh yeah. Of course, yeah.
Right.
There were
So,
Daisy Duke and Boss Hog and people.
yeah,
Oh, by the way, if you're out there, you can make comments and I just wanted to let people know why, because we're live. Because you guys can make if you guys have any comments or questions, you can ask Ross or myself, and later on also we get notified if somebody later, a week from now, a month from now, if they make a comment, you're going to be alerted. So you can always go back. And if you want to be a friend or a fan, say that 3 times. You can also do that. So don't forget to reach out to Ross Bell. But anyway, Dukes of Hazzards. Go back to Dukes of Hazzards.
So when I was a kid in school, I kind of used to get teased, but because my name is Ross, and the sheriff in the show was called Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane. Roscoe P. Coltrane. It's just a riff on that. The thing I used to get,
you couldn't get any more southern than that.
Exactly. So even though I am a man of the South, it just happens that South is the South of England. But
the South of England. Well, hey, listen, I come from the south of Detroit, and there's no such thing as south of Detroit. It's southwest Detroit. You're in the Detroit River swimming to Canada if you're in South Detroit. But it works well in the song, I guess.
Yeah, so it's kind of taken from there, and Ross. In fact, you know what, the sheriff of the Dukes of Hazzard was actually the hero of that story. I mean, he was there trying to keep the peace between everyone. The Dukes were running about with moonshine, probably fueling alcoholism in Hazzard County, in a big V8, terrible for the environment. And they had it did have a Confederate flag on the top. I don't think they could get away with that these days.
Well, in the United States, you can. We're like the polarized of America now, but it's kind of fun. You should join us. Come on over. You got to
Listen, I'm desperate to come over. I unfortunately, my legal situation says I can't just yet. But let's see what happens in the future, because my crime was a felony crime, so I'm not allowed in the country just yet. But of course, I'm in that style, that Americana style, because I love it. I'm immersed in the culture. One day I want to be able to come to Nashville and write over there. That would be an absolute dream. Let's call them out.
I would love to have you here.
I've got dreams. I would love to one day for my band play the Ryman. Would love to play the Old Opry. I want to go to Red Rocks. Of course I do. You want to go and do all those iconic things. I'll immerse myself in the culture. Totally, I love that.
I mean, I come up with more ideas, not just songs and writing music. I'm doing country rock and roll for this girl down there from Detroit. She likes the country rock and roll, but she also likes R&B. I'm trying to figure out some staples with Motown. I'm also doing EDM, for the first time, even though I've been a club DJ all my life. So, but I also want to create a digital environment where people can actually, because I do believe, Zoom wasn't that big until after COVID started.
Sure.
And I think this technology is going to get bigger and better in the landscape. Look at U2; they're in Las Vegas. They have this thing called the Sphere, and at first I wasn't sure what it was. I thought it was like an illuminated pumpkin, and I thought maybe that was just some digital thing somebody enhanced. And I saw it on Facebook or something, and I hear it's just one of the most really amazing facilities. You're really way up there inside this big round basketball looking thing, but inside the digital aspects are just unreal. And Vegas never shortchanges you, even 10, 20 years ago. It evolved. The money and the technology there's no shortage of creativity there. In fact, I'm talking to some guys that I interviewed back in December that actually were originally here and did a lot of made a big dent here, but then they ended up going to Vegas. But my point is that I think even like how we're communicating hours apart at the same time, you used to have to get on a plane 20 years ago to go somewhere, and and we thought we were high tech then, right? And it's just, I think look at these new things they have with Apple. Those goggles are like $5,000. I'll wait for a minute, but I hear that they're pretty extraordinary, and they've had those out for years, but they haven't really done anything. So I think it's going to allow people like yourself and me and anybody that's creating any kind of music or any ideas really. You have to find an audience. I'm not worried about the amount of people because I know that, think about John Lennon. He was writing music. The Beatles broke up. He started doing his own thing, and then he was shot. But his music lives on. How many people can say that? Entertainment is a really cool vehicle for. And I don't want to talk posthumously about somebody, but what I mean is that just because you don't achieve something today, like when you finish a normal job, you go home and that job's over. You go back, you repeat the same process. But with music, you can create something that may not even be that well received. And then 35 years later, it's in a TV show on Netflix for like Kate Bush, and she's getting a check for her $2.9 million 36 years later. She's relevant. Tracy Chapman.
Like you think about someone like Sugarman, Sixto Rodriguez, just found so many years later, discovered. Or a really great soul singer like Charles. God rest his soul, Charles Bradley, who didn't get famous until his 60s. Incredible singer. It's been plugging away for all that time.
I think somebody just said Van Gogh. I think that one of the ideas that I have, and I could be wrong, I don't think I am, even though, because everybody, like even Van Gogh, but, and what did you have to cut off an ear? But I think that, when I listen to you and I've seen your stuff, why I wanted to share your story, and somebody because people love to look for the negatives instantly. Like, well, is he in Nashville? Well, you just told a story. I don't know any group that has one, Duke that has it. And you're right, the Confederate flag. I mean, you can't get any more something. You didn't make any mention of Daisy Duke, and I think she was probably one of the more popular eye candies of that show, I guess.
She was, yes, I liked her a lot. Yes.
Yeah, you see, I'm sure many people did. But the thing is that I think that what I mummify into this whole thing can be used today, tomorrow, a week from now, and years from now. And you can share it and let people know that you were here. I want people to know that there was a creative force, regardless of the amount of money or success, even fame, that surrounds somebody. Because I've met so many people. Think about a guy like Jim Croce, right? Yeah. Or Stevie Ray Vaughan. I mean, most of the kids probably don't even know who he is unless they pick up a guitar or whatever. But then when you think about it, man, their songs stand the test of the time. What they did stood the test of the time. So we have to immortalize it with technology. We used to have to put it in tapes and store them in a cool environment. Now it's all digital. And even if the hard drive crashes, we've got it on a jump drive or cloud or something, and I want people to have the expression and the idea. Somebody like you is, you're such a sweet person that has had such a incredibly arduous up and down all around kind of life. And that was, and I only knew a little bit before we even started the interview, and I heard some other information that you sent me, and I started to kind of, I hate to use the term deep dive too much, but I did a little bit really quick. And I just love the fact that, that's why I want the audience to know, like, your genre, what inspired you, what we're going to get to what you play, what instruments, and I know your vocals. And I'm going to play one song before we close out. Because and I want you to be able to say whatever you want to say, before we end the show. But before I do that, because I want to remember this part. Is there any way is there anything that you want the audience to know, like how to get a hold of you? Directly, indirectly, like, through your social media streams? Do you want to put
in Instagram, we're at Roscoe Pico. The website being built at the moment called, should be up and running the next couple of weeks, called RoscoePico.com.
RoscoePico.com. Here, let me put that.
IG is at Roscoe Pico. I've got Roscoe Pico Facebook page.
Okay.
YouTube.
Yeah.
All the stuff.
Okay, let me see.
That's how we got to build it these days, isn't it? Got to build it.
I don't know if it'll be 2 words when it pops up, but I'm just going to put it up here right now. And then, let's see if you can see it. Roscoe Pico. So if you go to any of his, it'll be now your Instagram is what?
He's at Roscoe Pico, yeah. All one word.
At Roscoe Pico, and it's probably 1 word, so we don't forget the space,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's all 1 word, yeah.
Okay, well here, let me I can edit that for you. But anyway, so that's great. I'm glad you told me, because I thought it was some crazy European thing to be.
It's just
I would have never guessed that.
Because we're in that musical genre, and we just wanted to go for a name that would, like, people would have. To be honest with you, I'm not saying like the kids aren't going to listen to us, but I think our genre of music is our demographic is probably more like, between the ages of 30 and 60 years. Probably.
Yeah, but they probably said the same thing about Metallica, Masters of Puppet, and they were all anti-internet too. Metallica, and now they're swimming in it. Every time somebody clicks on Spotify, they get paid. The poor artist that isn't famous doesn't get paid that much. They got to get 1 million likes to get to make $1. I think, I don't know. So and I hope to change all that. I'm just a small fish in a big pond, and even Nashville's set in stone with a lot of things. It's like the Pied Piper. People are going to follow the old traditional methods, which is a very, I hate to say it. So here I'm in their backyard trying to, peddle them themselves, saying, hey, look, there's a way to find an audience. There's a way to get paid. We're trying to figure that out. And at the very least, you may have your own Sphere. You may have your own Red Rock. You may have your own Coliseum to play in. Madison Square Garden, wherever you pick a place. I think we're going to be able to do that before our lifetime ends. And I think that, with room to spare, and I think, people are going to be able to, come and see. So whatever I don't accomplish today with this interview, I hope that that we're going to, that at least you got your story there. And I want people to recognize your emblem. Can I play a song really quick that you sent me a video, and I hate to edit it. Luckily, I have all these different programs, and it might end abrupt, but I'm going to play a little bit of it. It's what now? Tell me this song. It's Running Man.
Running Man, yeah. This song's called.
Now, what is this from? Is this from an earlier album, or give me a real quick bio?
This is from the album that's going to be released later on this year. The album's called Beautifully Wasted. This is the first single off the album, released November of last year. Next one's released actually next week, so that's cool. So this is called Running Man.
You knew what I would do that day. You knew that I would run away, 'cause a fragile state of mind, my heart, the aching kind, don't need a kick. I saw that I would play myself. I saw I could be something else, but a mind that clings to fear can never settle here, and that's just sick. A running man finds no peace, fast as he can, as he feels the heat. A running man turn around, because someday he'll find his feet on solid ground.
Wow, that was great. I don't want to give the whole song away, because you can probably where can we find that?
You definitely on all streaming platforms.
Wow, I really like that. It has a nice country texture to it down here. Nice southern.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
that would fit. Yeah, you would not guess that song is from the United Kingdom, or it's just it's crazy. It's really nice.
Yeah, like I say, we had we're so lucky to get Nielsen Hubbard to produce the album. He's such an incredible producer. We're really hoping that he's going to say yes to doing the next one with us as well. And we're just going to keep rolling on with this, brother.
Yeah, no, I can. Now who's singing on that? Is that you?
It is me. Yeah, I'm the singer.
Wow, really? Okay. I'm almost fearful to ask the question because I go, no, it wasn't me. Because it happened when I pitched a couple songs down in Nashville. There was a couple songs, and they didn't realize it was the lead keyboardist for Aerosmith that sang one of the songs that I pitched. And then the guy's going, no, and the girl goes, "Is that you singing, Chris?" I go, "No." The guy was like Steve Tyler's backup. I mean, the guy's an amazing guy, Russell. And like, and he's played with Sting and Stone Temple Pilots and a whole bunch of other people. I mean, the guy's a virtuoso, and he's just like, but I can't lie and I can't tell, so, but that was really good. You got a really nice voice. That's something, that's really, it's so, I wanted people to at least give a little dose of what you were, what you're up to. And I think that's, that's something I would listen to in my car driving down the road. I think it fits. I think it fits.
Thank you.
No, I really do. I'm really excited. I know we've been on for almost an hour and a half now, but I want to, before, we do end, I want to get a couple more things from you. So, okay, we got a way to reach you. We got, and if you do have any questions later on and you want to reach, because it's going to automatically tag me, I will definitely forward you your information. And if anybody happens to, be a label or producer, somebody in the industry, feel free to reach out to my friend. So everything's going good in your life now. You guys have any? What's your future?
So good. It's like I'm deep in the hustle of bringing the record out, but I'm really happy for that. I like the hustle. I really like connecting with people, just connecting with so many different people in the industry, and now continually connecting with people who are listening to it, becoming fans of the music. That's been incredibly positive. So like so many of us, like so many songwriters and musicians and people in bands, can't give up the day job yet, and that may be some way down the line. But I remain convinced that my music's going to pay for itself one day, and it's going to find an audience. We're going to find my 1,000 true fans and all that kind of concept. And just all I need for it to do is just continue, because there is no greater feeling for me than that creative process. That there's a blank page and then there's a set of lyrics, and then go for the set of lyrics and you start collaborating with someone else, and you've got a song. Before you know it, there is a song where there wasn't a song. Nothing beats that feeling. It doesn't require anybody else to validate it. There's no external validation required for that.
No, there's no stopper.
It exists. That song, that Running Man, that was one day. That was Ross just sitting in the studio. Went, oh, I've got this riff. He just started playing it. I said, right, keep going, and it came out. That one came out pretty quickly, I have to say. So it's that choice, that big magic. There's nothing better than that big magic. Now,
that magic.
The caveat to that
there's no better word that actually takes that.
Yeah. Now the caveat to the comment is that feeling will always exist. Now, would it make it? Would it easy? Would it give you more time if in fact that the music paid for itself and you got more time to do it? That would be great. But if it doesn't matter, because I'm still going to keep going. It's got me now. It's got me. I can't leave it alone. So you just keep.
Won't let go. I won't let you go.
It really won't. I don't have any other choice. It's not going to go. I could just forget this. I can't. I'm absolutely obsessed. I'm all in.
That's the next song. I won't let go, or I won't let go. Yeah. Well, maybe we'll write that one together. Who knows?
I'm up for that.
I'm still waiting to write one with Stephen Wood out there. I know he's out there somewhere.
Stevie, Me too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's great. I love him. Anyway, well, I don't really know what else to ask you. I mean, you can feel to say, whatever you want to say. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to cover?
Chris, I really, really appreciate your time today and give me this platform and give me a chance to tell my story. And get it out there a bit more to people. The connections keep widening. It's really good to just actually have a long form conversation with you for the first time. That's been nice. After getting to know each other for a while, I really appreciate that. I want to keep hearing more stories. I mean, it's definitely all of us over here, probably Stephen included, that's watching right now. We want to know more about Nashville. We want to get to know more things about it. We want to find out more about it.
I'm trying, man. This is my tour duty right now.
Yeah, we're in. Yeah, we're in. We're engaged. You know.
Engaged. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and feel free, as your evolution takes process, I believe that, you're going to make some great strides. You can always come back another time, and you can also promote on this thing, because if we're going to, I ask people every single day, it could be, even if it's on the other side of the world, like, what else can we do to add to this? What else can we do to add? Because I've done this on like a $0 budget. I actually have a lot of hardware and equipment, and, I just haven't pulled the trigger yet, because I want to see, how it goes with everything. But I feel good about everything that we've done so far, because at the very least, you have something now, like an old movie that you were in, and you can say, look, there's me, a year from now, 5 years from now, and look back and say, you know what? Because, I'm trying to share not just with Nashville, but the world, and your story and everyone else's story, because I honestly, genuinely, because of what you went through and I went through, and if it wasn't for what I went through the last 10 years, and then losing my son 4 years ago, and then coming down here, and that, I don't want people to, I know you don't want pity or sympathy. I don't want pity or sympathy, but it's the trigger that inspired us to, like, go, you know what? Either lay down and die, because you said you were drinking and all those things like that. You admitted to that, which is fine, because I was drinking every day. I lived 5 seconds from a liquor store that was open during the, COVID. Oops, I'm sorry, I just bumped the camera. But anyway, and I could have kept doing that. And one day I just said, because they were kind of unlocking us, I got in my truck and I went down to Nashville. And that was an 8-hour drive, and people were not supporting me. Not they weren't being negative; they just weren't being like, "Yeah, go, you should do it." It was, and I met a lot of great people, and I had a friend with me, and then I went back a couple months later, and then I came back. Have I set the world on fire? I haven't made a dime yet, but and I'm doing it because it's part of
it can be difficult for people. It can be difficult for people, because they've got a picture of you, and their picture of you was probably, oh, well, that's Chris, or Chris is a DJ, and Chris is a firefighter, and Chris is a fireman, and Chris does this. So as you start changing that picture, they're like, oh, hang on there, that's not the picture I've got.
Right.
I don't get it. Or what's happening now? Things are changing, and I'm getting that in my life now. It's only the end of last year I actually sort of came out loud and came out, as it were, and said, I am an artist. I am an artist. I'm a songwriter, and I make music. That's who I am. That's what I do. And that's who I want to be for the rest of my life. That's who I choose to be. And some people go in, some people are like, what? That's not the guy you were. I don't know that guy.
Yeah, no, I think you've got some really cool elements to being successful at this, and at the very least, sharing your music with people around the world for years to come. And I think, for what you've went through, you could have just, taken the easy route and became normal, and became ordinary, and just blended into the background, and it's like I have this black background that I cover up pictures of my kids, but I also have the lights constantly changing, because I don't want it one stagnant, opaque,
sure.
Thing here. And I want it to be, there is color in my life, and it's the people, the good people, you follow? So
Yes.
I think, but anyway, I don't know what else I can ask you. Usually, and I'm never at a loss for words, but I think that I think we covered a lot, and I want you to come back anytime you want. We're friends on Facebook, so if you want to see them on social media, this will be on YouTube, and everything else. You can share it, Ross, and you'll receive a copy if you want, forever. And yeah, reach out to him, you guys. He's a great guy. He's a very smart and creative soul. I'm just really, really proud to be his friend, and I'm glad we did this today on a Saturday evening where you're at. Are you going out anywhere? Or are you just going to?
I'm boringly. I'm off to bed soon because I like that.
What time is it there? What time?
It's 8:30. I'm a very early riser, so yeah.
Okay, then we'll let you go. We'll let you go. Are you satisfied? You feel you got your fill?
Oh, I'm so happy. I really, really appreciate this time. Thank you, Chris.
Well, and thank you for the people that stopped by. I know that not everybody can watch it in an hour and a half on a Saturday because, you got chores to do and things to do. But, like I said, time's really not imperative because you can watch this anytime you want from now on. And thank you for being, thank you. I'm honored that you took the time out to come out and do this with me. And
my honor and my pleasure, sir. Thank you.
All right, my brother. I love you, man. So anyway, that's Ross Bell, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna let him go. Get some sleep, brother. And just hang on. I'll come and talk to you right after the show. I'll be right back. Anyway, that's my buddy right there. That's Ross Bell, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I didn't want to have I wanted him to just feel comfortable expressing himself. I didn't take any notes. I knew a little bit about his background. But I wanted him to express it in his own way. And that's, if anybody who wants to come on that has a story and is looking to be a singer-songwriter, yes, I'm down in Nashville. I'm also from Detroit and I go back and forth. But if you have somebody in any part of the planet and they have a phone, an iPad, a computer, as you can see, that's what I'm doing right now until we make the change in the evolution of adding more and more stuff. I apologize. I'm down here and my leg was getting cramped and I actually needed to move it. And that's why you see the jiggle in the camera. But, hey, we at least you can see and hear what we're doing, right? And Ross, just gave us a lot of history there. I mean, if he can do that, that means you can do it. As a singer, songwriter, producer, or like he said, you don't have to be any of those things. If you've got an idea and a goal, you're never too old. You can go through all kinds of, paths that take you to dead ends and some really bumpy roads. I know that whole story. And that's why I do this is, hopefully that, I'm elevating somebody out there even more than normal, I guess. But that's it. I hope you had a great day. Go get back to whatever you're doing. Enjoy your Saturday, your weekend. And thank you for joining me on Nash Talk. And that's it. I hope you guys have a great evening, and I'll see you soon.